computer. So, my dear, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You're Adrienne. Tell me a little about you and all that fun stuff.
Okay. I'm Adrienne Quinn Martin. I go by Adrienne Quinn because that's my middle name. And when I started my TikTok, I started it as Quinn. And so now half the people know me as Adrienne, half the people know me as Quinn. So I just go by both now. But I'm a Democratic chair in Hood County, Texas. If you don't know what a Democratic chair is, they're the kind of the elected head of the party for the county. I live in a really, really red county. It's about 80% Trump county in rural Texas outside of Fort Worth.
You poor dear.
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure. It's a challenge, but it's, I kind of tell people if I lived in like a blue area, I don't know what I would do with my free time.
Why? How much work does that entail?
Being a county chair, it's kind of what you put into it. The actual job is just to run the primaries, get election workers, file candidates, do your primary financing with the Secretary of State, that kind of thing, certifying elections. It's all kind of like, paperwork kind of stuff. And that stuff I really don't enjoy doing, but I consider myself to be somewhat of an activist. I guess I would say that, because what I like to do is organize people, let people keep people informed of what's going on in my county, and keep people with my TikTok. I hope that I'm like getting to people that maybe wouldn't know about some of the stuff that's going on in Texas, because we really have been taken over by the extreme religious right. And my overall hope is to inspire people to vote so that we can have change, positive change in Texas and across the country.
Well, I have to say, since I found you on my For You page, coincidentally in the past, I'd say month or so, I've connected with, there's so many amazing Texas women on social media right now. Not only the Mothers Against, that ad campaign's genius, but the reason why I wanted to do this to you, I want to just do a series on Texas women, because it's like the spirit of Ann Richards is like swirling. And I feel like there's like, I hope on every fiber of my being that Beto wins. So and you have a very specific goal to get, which is people to vote for him in Texas,
Right.
And as much as it seems like a no-brainer, the fact that you have been taken over by those lunatics gives you a really hard uphill battle, which is mind-boggling,
Well, it's gerrymandering, it's voter suppression. Texas is the hardest state to vote in, and that's all by design. They don't want people to vote because the state, I think a misconception people have about Texas is that we're a really red state. Yeah, the rural areas are definitely red, and they're going to probably stay red. But the population is moving out of the rural areas. Every urban area in Texas is blue. 75% of people that live in Texas live in a blue county. So we're really almost kind of held captive by these right-wing extremist Republican leaders. And that's not really what the state is all about. The state is really purple, almost blue, really. But we've kind of been, like I said, held captive by these people. And honestly, all these people got elected in the midterms.
Right.
People don't vote in the midterms. That's why I'm trying to get the message out. You've got to vote in the midterms, because what's controlling your state is what affects your life even more than president or federal races. Like, I mean, the heartbeat ban, which was our first law that prevented, abortion after 6 weeks. And now we have this week, the complete ban of abortion with no exceptions.
I mean,
of
that
rape or
doesn't
incest.
motivate, but if that doesn't motivate people that normally don't vote, that are, of course, either Democrats or even Republican women who may have daughters, that they can see this as a problem. Just because this law is in place doesn't mean that people won't have sex.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not going to change youth. And like, everyone's pervy from 12 to 8, you know what I mean? The last years of you're living in your parents' house, you know what I mean? That's when you get into, I know for myself, got into the most trouble with drugs and inappropriate whatever, and basement get-togethers, you know what I mean? It's just like, that's human. That's not going to change because a bunch of Republican gross white men decided, I don't even know what they've decided for themselves, that's.
Well, it's all about control, right? It's not actually about children, because we know our foster care system in Texas is in shambles. Over 100 children have died in foster care. We're the worst in healthcare. We're the one of the worst in maternal deaths. So we know it's not really about life, and it's not really about children. It's about control. Controlling women's choices, controlling women's bodies. That's the goal. It's not actually to help children. And those Republican politicians, and even a lot of Republican voters, if they're, they know that they're going to be able to send their daughter out of state to get an abortion if they need one. But
right.
It's the lower income, even middle income people that are going to suffer under this. And a lot of those women are the ones that can't afford to have children. The majority of women that have abortions already have children.
Right.
So it's not that they have, a lot of it is economic. But the state of Texas doesn't want to help that.
Yeah, I really don't get it, because I live in the bubble of Los Angeles, which is so blue, it's almost nauseating, you know what I mean? But I just feel like, since I've been so moved by the women in Texas that are just so compelling and so just honest about it, and feel like I don't know, I just think, I'm old enough to remember Ann Richards, you know what I mean? So that's whatever. So I want to do a series of these kind of conversations, because I really think that people can learn from that energy in other states. You particularly, now that you've been picked up because of what you did at that school board meeting, which was amazing, And I think I started following you before that, and I didn't put, because your hair was different, so I didn't recognize.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't recognize it was me.
I didn't recognize you as you until I saw you on Midas Touch, because I follow them, so that came into my feed,
The TikTok filters do wonders.
I'm really happy for you. I'm happy for you to have found your voice here, and it's just going to grow like you do. How long have you been on here now?
On TikTok? I think I started like everybody else in 2020.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but I didn't.
So long for you to come on my For You page.
I don't know. I didn't start talking about politics for a while. I was making goofy videos with my son and never expecting anybody to see him. And my first quote unquote viral video was a video of pictures of me in the 90s, which that's what really started me off. And then I ran out of pictures real quick, and I thought, oh, well, I better start talking about something else. And politics is kind of what I know, especially Texas politics. So,
right.
I don't know when. It's probably been a year and a half maybe that I've been started talking about.
How old is your kid?
Well, I actually have a 24-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son.
Wow.
I actually have a granddaughter. as crazy as that is. I have a 6-month-old.
You could run for Miss Grandmother, Miss Grandmother America, if you really wanted.
Well,
You do
if they
have
put
that.
it,
That does
if-
exist, you know.
okay, well, I'm gonna look into that then. I'm gonna slay these other
I
grandmas.
can't wait till they ask you the question, you know, like the obligatory, what is the, like your thing? And you'd come out with some like, bam.
They don't know what's gonna hit them.
Exactly.
But-
Well, you have any other things you want to share about what you do or whatever, about what the plan is for you in this last 3 months, or what is
Mhm.
coming so quickly? Like,
I
what,
know.
yeah,
It's
what are
like
you gonna
70
do?
something days.
What are you gonna do? Anything different between now and November 8th?
Well, to me, my goal is to get people to vote. I mean, that's. I just went to a seminar a couple weeks ago, and one of the guys that kind of stuck in my head. He said, "If it's not going to get people to vote, don't waste your time on it." And I'm like, okay, that's stuck in my head because now's not the time for party building, anything like that. We need to engage new voters. Basically, from what I've seen in the numbers, and this is, I don't want to like discourage anybody or depress anybody, but we need about 400,000 switch voters / new voters, which is possible. You know, we've had over 1 million people register since the last election.
Right.
So it's possible, but it's going to take work. Like just in my county, I need 900 new voters to make up my percentage of that statewide.
And when is it the latest to register to vote?
In Texas, it's a month before the election. I think it's October 11th is the actual date. You have to register 30 days. And in California, you can register same day, right?
I'm telling
I
you,
mean,
it's blue as fuck around here.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. You have to jump through all these hoops, you know.
We have a very serious election coming up for LA mayor, but I live in actually Beverly Hills, so it's not my thing, but I just moved out of that district here, so whatever. But so this is going to be a horrible thing to say, but politics can be horrible. But because of the law that's officially on the books now in Texas, if a couple of really bad, tragic health outcomes happen because of abortion laws, that might help with registration for young women, young people. I mean, it just sucks, but you have to think of worst case scenarios to get that guy in. Abbott cannot win. There's just no way on earth that
women are going to die. I mean, there's no question, because we're already hearing stories about, you know, Kim Paxton, our attorney general, sued the Biden administration not to allow Texas emergency rooms to not perform emergency abortions. I mean, I don't know if men particularly understand that ectopic pregnancies are common. Ectopic pregnancy is when the fertilized egg is in the fallopian tube. I'm sure you know, but maybe somebody watching doesn't know. And that pregnancy cannot continue. And if it does continue, the embryo grows and the fallopian tubes burst and the woman can hemorrhage and die. So that is an emergency situation. A lot of women that go through those end up losing their reproductive organs. Miscarriage is incredibly, incredibly common. Abortion is incredibly common. So if you align up women that have miscarriages, women that have ectopic pregnancies, women that have pregnancies that the fetus is not viable, women that have miscarriages, you're basically talking about every single woman on the planet. It's just part of life for women. So if we're going to deny women healthcare when they come into an emergency room and we're just going to let them die, like that's really what Texas is talking about. And that's what we need to be talking about, because our state attorney general sued to allow women to die in emergency rooms so that they don't perform.
The language needs to be right. That's what I'm saying. It may not sound like, oh, cozy wozy, but it's got to be as Texas orders women death. It's like
Yes.
a campaign. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do not give a shit if we die.
Yeah.
Like, they literally do not care. They don't care if we freeze in our homes. They don't care if we can't get health care. They don't care if we have cancer and can't get insurance because they didn't expand Medicaid here. They don't care if children, don't have homes. Like, they literally do not care about people, and especially not women. And voters need to realize that. Don't get me started on that. I don't understand that.
Have you connected? Wait, so you said you're outside of Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a different county than Houston?
Yes, we're really far. I mean, Texas is huge, like California is huge too. But Houston is, I'm not really good at mileage, but it's I think about a 5-hour drive for me.
Oh, okay. Have you connected on social media to that Gen Z for Change, Oliviana? Have you seen
I follow her. Yeah, she's amazing. And that just goes to show the power, of social media and of our voices when we use them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just like that, me talking at the school board. I wasn't expecting, people to see that across the country. But because I use my voice, which in that room, it's a super Christian conservative community, right?
Right.
Like, so what I said, like, I've listened to a million school board meetings and nobody's ever like just flat out said what I said. So I think it resonated with people. But what I said was fairly obvious, right? But it's like nobody had said it.
No.
So,
it's like that's your role now, is to be that person straight through the end of your life.
Right. But I want to encourage other people to do the same, like just say it. Just say it. Don't be afraid. Nothing's happened to me. I live in like Oath Keeper Central. I live in, insurrectionists. Like, we had county people that work for the county at the insurrection. Like, that's where I live. And if I can speak out, then other people can too.
Right. Well, that's how you should inspire. You should do TikToks about that. When are you going to do your first thing for a Midas touch?
I think I might try to do one today. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it.
Well, just remember, you have to be that person that has been responded to. And that is how you should be talking to every young person that you bump into the streets, like, because it's compelling. It's just brutal honesty. I mean, that's why I've managed to get a following, because I'm just brutally honest. And I just pull bullshit when I see it, and I don't ever want to not be this way. And if I lose my platform, I would have then benefited from some people would have benefited from this, but I'm not getting, my life's not going to end if I'm not on this platform. But I will have known that I served a certain role in whatever little bit of the pieces that we do, And for you, that you're coming now into your own with social and other support, so many people are like, promoting that snippet too. It's not just Midas touch. I've seen it a few times used, that's magic. That's the magic of just going in there and speaking from your heart, which is, I think, what you were doing.
Oh, absolutely. I wrote that down. I wasn't going to speak. I really hate public speaking. Like, I can talk on TikTok or whatever, but you get me in front of an audience and I'm just kind of like, right. But I've had to kind of force myself to do it, because you can't be in leadership and not be able to get in front of people and speak. So, and our school board meetings in particular are the most intimidating situation you can go to, because that it's being live streamed, one. Number two, that all these people there literally hate you, and they're staring at your backs. A couple months before this meeting, I was at another meeting where a man threatened the school board, pointed at them, said, "We know where you live." The man was removed because he had a gun at the school board meeting. Like, that's the environment there. So I literally, like, I had kind of written something out, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to speak or not. And while I was sitting there, I signed up to speak, and I was like, okay, if I don't want to speak, I'll just tell them to pass me. And these people were getting up and talking about, I'm a conservative Christian, I'm a Christian, da da da. And this is, they're removing books is the whole issue. There's a lot more issues in that, but I wrote down, people talking about being great Christians, like our schools aren't your church. I wrote that literally down like 5 minutes before I said it. And I think that's the line that kind of resonated with people.
Yeah, no,
but,
the whole thing was good. And plus you were like brooking the hair and it was all the little glam never hurt this crowd.
No, absolutely.
So are you from where you are or you moved there?
My husband is from here, and I moved here in 08. And but I'm from a suburb of Dallas, so not very far. And when I moved here, I kind of just thought I was moving to another suburb. I didn't realize how different living in a quote unquote small town is than living in a like a regular suburb of a city. Like, I didn't realize how white it is here. Because where I grew up it was really diverse, very diverse. And I think, thank God, because that's who made me who I am, right. Because I can see people that grew up in this environment, which my son is one of those people. So I try to expose him to other things outside of this area, but you really see what growing up in an area like this does to your mind. Right. If you don't get out and expand your thinking. So I moved here in 08, and it was like a bit of a culture shock. But what really started changing things, like it was very Republican, right? But it wasn't nearly as vicious until Trump.
Yeah.
And then the racism, the anti-public education, all those themes really really took over here.
It's so weird.
We did Granbury is, I call it, people call it the tip of the spear, because a lot of the things, because it is so white and conservative, a lot of the money, the politicians will come through Granbury and go out. So it's almost like a launching pad. And it's where they start a lot of these horrible policies, and then they spread through the state.
So it's the launching pad of crazy?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I mean, if you just Google Hood County, if you look up Granbury, you'll see all these great, because we're a little lake town.
What's the name of it?
Granbury, Granbury, which is a Confederate soldier, by the way.
I'll do that.
But okay, Google that, and then Google Granbury ISD, and then Google Hood County. You'll get different results because Granbury has all been taken care of by our tourism board. We're a cute little lake town.
How do you spell which county? Spell that?
Hood, Hood.
Yikes! Just the name of it alone.
Well, that Hood and Granbury are both Confederate. So
yeah.
We're named after two Confederates. We have three Confederate monuments on our square. So, but if you just look up what's going on here, I mean, we're literally in the national news. This is a small town. We're in the national news on a regular basis for things that the conservative people are doing here that are frankly anti-American. And they just get away with it. Like, they're literally purging books at our school right now and throwing them in the trash. We've got confirmation that this is what's happening. They fired the librarian. Like, they're doing anti-American, like, frankly, illegal stuff here, and they completely get away with it. It's literally insane. It'll make you crazy because if I didn't have like Twitter or TikTok to like have conversations with people outside of this area, I think I would go insane, because you start feeling gaslit by even people that are supposedly on your side, because a lot of them don't want you to rock the boat. They're just like, oh, well, we can all get along, we can work together. No, we can't. When they're attacking LGBTQ children, when they're throwing away books, when they want to fire our election administrator so they can take over our elections. No, there is no both sides. We have to speak out and say what these people are doing. Like they tried to fire our election administrator, and then they harassed and bullied her until she quit. That was national news. You know, the book, our superintendent came out and was secretly taped saying that he wanted to get rid of books that are LGBTQ and transgender. So it's all been laid out. It's not hidden. But the people here,
everything's out in the open. It's just a matter of
it's just frustrating.
Which actually becomes harder to fight in a way, because
that's part of it. It starts making you feel crazy, because you're like, is anybody seeing this? Like, are y'all not seeing what's happening?
I was just listening to a podcast yesterday about a guy who wrote a book about the impact that we're suffering from because of the social media impact of our political experience that we've been all going through for the past 5 years. And it's like, we're all like having PTSD. And it's like, you know, and as much as I like to think I'm the voice of sanity, you know what I mean? Within this turbulent, kind of fascistic, weird, like, I don't remember a time in America like this. And I've been around for a very long time, you know? But yeah, I just think it's out of the closet. It's like, you know, they should be like put back in the closet the way they want gays to go back into.
Oh my God, exactly. I talked to a woman and she said something that stuck to me. She said, is this a time period like McCarthyism? You know, where this kind of thing happens and it's big news and then we get past it? She said, or is this the change of our society forever? Yeah. And I was like, that's a good question. You know, do we beat it or does it beat us?
This is much worse than that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That was, you know, narrowly focused on Hollywood, which was especially, you know, a very elite group of Hollywood talent. And yeah, I mean, there was the Red Scare, and people have gone, you know, going under their desks because they thought we were going to get bombed, whatever. The nuclear. The thing is that there wasn't like this gun-toting hatred. Did you see that video of those guys rehearsing for the Civil War? Those, like, it's somewhere in Texas, like fucking Texas, man. The hell is going on over there? Anyway,
so crazy is the craziest people. Like, I can tell you from my town, they're all freaking transplants. They're not Texans. They came here because they wanted to carry around guns and cosplay, you know, Civil War, whatever they think, patriot. You know, they're coming here and they come specifically to my town because of the reputation it has. So, like, literally, most of those people that you see, they're not. A lot of them come from California. A lot of them come from California.
Well, we got rid of them, honey. Whatever.
See? But like when they had the Ted Cruz Beto election, there was I did a TikTok on it, but the new voters from California, majority went to Ted Cruz, and I was like, yeah, I can totally see that, because somebody like you, a blue, you know, a liberal, is not going to move to Texas right now. So, but you know,
Florida,
yeah,
but all
right,
you know, those are the yikes. Anyway,
yeah.
I feel, because I'm so safe here in this bubble, that my responsibility is to focus on Texas. I want to help. There's a couple people in Florida I want to help. I think that's, you know, I mean, again, I think they're uphill battles, but I want to
Right.
be part of, you know, the solution as opposed to staying in the problem, you know.
And we appreciate that because we need the help. We need
I
all
don't
the
know,
help we
I'm
can
doing
get.
a whole Texas thing for the next couple weeks. I mean, that's, and I'm gonna tell people to do that too, because,
Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know, I just think that this race is gonna end up being much better at the end for us as a country.
Right.
You know, I
Mhm.
feel very optimistic. I never bought into the pessimism. I just a believer in that this can be done. We did it in November of 2020. We did it again in January 21 in Georgia. We can do it again. I mean, granted, we have a lot of help from the SCOTUS, you know what I mean? Those idiots,
Right.
you know, but thank you for making this horrible issue for women the opportunity that it needs to be to keep us blue. That's all you can do.
I hope and pray. I'm just, I am really hesitant to get. I think it's just because of where I live,
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm just surrounded by this all the time. So it's hard for me to get my hopes up. You know,
Well,
I'm almost in fight or flight all the time, and it's just all the time fight.
well,
You know, that's how I live.
I can't inject anybody with this kind of blind optimism, but you know, my family was raised, we were raised to think, expect the worst, this way everything you get's great, you know, and that was
Mhm.
because my parents survived the Holocaust. So I kind of get it, but I didn't, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I want to be this place of everything, it's a can-do spirit. It's the say
Yes.
yes spirit. And this
And
is
that's
kind of,
important.
yeah, that's where I feel I need for my own sanity, because my sisters are very much like have that other thing, and they're forever like, you know, worst.
Really.
Yeah, and I can't do that. They're just always expect like the worst, and then they get
Yeah.
the gift, you know, and they've been fortunate and knock wood for them in their lives. They've had, you know, certain amount of blessings and whatnot, but I've had less blessings, but I just feel like I can sleep better. I don't know.
How did you get into politics?
I'm not in politics. I'm
Or
actually
just
doing I've been producing events and fundraisers for years, and videos and music videos and fashion shows. So I was a
oh,
producer
okay.
by trade, but this
Uh-huh.
got me, I've been an activist since I was in 7th grade when the people were marching on Washington for the end of war in Vietnam. That my sister was at that march, and I stopped my grade school from getting into school. That was the moment I realized I'm going to be an activist. You know, I'd been very involved with the women's movement and gay rights, of course, and you know, and I felt like this was the moment to kind of use this platform leading into the most consequential election of our lives, you know, in 2020. And I was blessed with, I have the greatest followers. Like, I weed out anything that even remotely smells like a Republican, I delete and block, you know what I mean? So I'm more concerned about the quality of the people that are in my following than the numbers game.
Yeah,
So I've been
absolutely.
very fortunate. And I mean, I just think this is a blessing. And the thing won't be silent is based on the documentary I've been working on leading into COVID, which of course got sidelined. But I just sold a series to Discovery. So I have another documentary that's now just kind of brewing. So that's kind of become like my legacy that I'm leaving behind on
That's
Earth.
amazing.
Because around the time the Nazis were marching in Charlottesville,
Hmm.
we got contacted by the Holocaust Museum that they found a piece of music written in a random book that my uncle wrote as a song of resistance to the Nazis in a concentration camp before he was killed. So it was like a
Wow.
little piece of music kind of came out of nowhere as a message to say,
Mhm.
no matter what you're in and whatever your situation of oppression, you need to use your voice to speak out. So In that case, I took this piece of music and I'm turning it into having all different artists reinterpreted. And we're doing, it's like a call, it's a clarion call for social justice that came from the ashes of the Holocaust. So it's this really magical project that unfortunately got sidelined because of COVID, but then I found this app, and the name of the project is Won't Be Silent. So rather than be all bummed out that, oh, I'm stuck in the house for 2 years or whatever, it was like, what better way to say I won't be silent than by voting? And that's how I turned this message as optimism into the election cycle, which now I'm using into the 22 election. I will happily use it into the 24 election. And the project is now cooking. So it's kind of, it's been a win-win ultimately. So COVID, as horrible as it was for so much of the world, turned out to be an opportunity to not shut down along with the world, that I was able to, So it's just, that's why I'm like just a strange bird, you know what I mean? I just live my life like every day matters and being in a state of gratitude. That is my mantra. That's how I intend to live. And even when I have problems, who doesn't have problems? That should not take away from the gratitude of just being here. I mean, just what's the option? We're going to go into some fascist bullshit. I mean, my mother survived Dachau. You think for 1 second I'm going to let any of these fascists get this much of my reality? No. You know what I mean? It's not happening.
Okay, I need you to be my life coach. This positive attitude. I need to be coached into this, because this is I deal in saltiness and snark and pessimism.
Well,
and smart assery. That's me.
Okay. Well, anytime you need to talk, I'll give you my number. You text me, and then we'll do a Zoom.
Okay, perfect. I like
when
that.
You feel like you're getting caught into the web of red horror,
yes,
I will throw you a line.
Yes,
I'll throw you a line. For sure.
I love that, and I need that, and I need to. I love having people that aren't in my state to talk to, because it just gives you a little bit different perspective.
I will send California good vibes anytime you want. Yeah, you got it.
We need it. We need it. Although I get told to move to California, like literally probably every day on TikTok.
Well, you'll never hear me say no to that. That's for sure.
That's their go-to insult. I'm like, oh, you want to move to California? I would love to move to California.
Yeah, hello.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, nuts. Anyway, this was great. I adore you. I'm going to email you my number. And seriously, whenever you need a dose of this is years in the making of getting, and actually I'm going, it's just a life process. You go to the mountaintop and you come back down with another layer of understanding and acceptance. Like, I just heard something so upsetting today on another podcast where this new group, the new Red Republican, the MAGA Republicans, they don't want to, they're not interested in forgiving people for saying those kind of things that they say. And my biggest lesson that I've learned in my life is that the strongest, the most powerful thing you have as a human, which differentiates us from every other animal, is the power to forgive. And that is the strongest, that is the healthiest, that is the most satisfying thing, when you can truly forgive others when they trespass upon you or someone else, because that doesn't mean you have to engage with them, but you can't let whatever is made. If I just feel like that's the most unhealthy part of the Republican Party, is this lack of forgiveness. And that's going to be what destroys them. It's going to eat them up inside, because the people that are so evil we're seeing by the millions, they are so unhappy inside. They are so miserable. They are so self-hating, especially if they've been raised by a church that has made them feel not worthy or not good enough or evil, or just having like a human thought is you're going to be banished to hell. I mean, that is internal hatred run amok. And now it's
Absolutely.
a whole party.
Mhm.
And I like to just bring everything back to, you know, what makes somebody a good person. I mean, and this is one other thing that I just like telling everybody. My mother, who lived through Dachau and ghettos and being on trains and all the things that you can't ever imagine living through, her biggest thing that she would always say to us is like, the most important thing was that I wanted to raise good children because I had seen evil.
Wow.
And that was it. Not for me to be successful or to be a lawyer or to be anything which ultimately I'm not, you know what I mean? But just to be a good person. And that is the strength that takes me through every day on this planet where tons of shit gets thrown at me. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
yeah, I will coach you through
That's a
the
good.
horror.
That's a good example to keep in mind. Yeah.
I
You
mean,
carry that. You carry that with you.
I carry it
Obviously.
with
Yeah.
me every morning, every
Mhm.
single morning. Walking my dogs is that opportunity to just remember that, yeah, some days just blow, you know, like by the time I got this contract with Discovery, I mean, I was like, ah, you know what I mean? It was like, and then around another round, and then they don't call you for a month. And I mean, this was like not easy to deal with, you know? And
Yeah.
then finally they send you an agreement that it's like, I'm not signing this. And then you know what I mean? And then it's like
Mhm.
Davy and Goliath, you know what I mean? It's like the big monstrosity company. And I'm like, well, but you know what? If you truly, you have to just one quick thing. So I had like all these lawyers on a phone call in this project, and it's based on Won't Be Silent, right? So they're like, well, we want to have rights in perpetuity and we own everything and we allow, and you're going to get $2 and I'm like, can I just remind everybody that the reason we are even having this phone conversation is that my uncle was killed in the Holocaust. And that
Wow.
like changed the whole dynamic of the negotiation
Really.
to the point where I ended up getting what I wanted, which again, you know, it's like my
Yeah. You don't want them having rights to your family history
no, they were like, no, you
to profit
can't
off of
do
it.
it. I mean, they wanted full on. I was like,
Wow.
hello, why do you think I am on Earth? I'm trying to create a legacy for someone. I said, this is one of the 6 million anonymous Jews, and he is about to
Yeah.
become non-anonymous because I'm doing this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
So it's
So that's what your discovery. It's going to be like a series or a movie or.
well, the pitch is a series, but they've commit to a pilot. So that's the first.
Okay. Yeah, that's
The
the first
pilot
step.
does well. You know what I mean?
That's so
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm
That's
very
so
proud.
amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
so
so
they don't want it
impressed.
because it's a little political. They don't want it to run until after the election.
Interesting.
Yeah, well,
Why do they care? They don't want to affect the election or say that they're,
you
I
know
know,
what? The thing
corporations.
is, these big streaming services have to be, you know, I need every eyeball. I want every eyeball, red, blue, green, purple. You know what I mean? You know,
Yes.
so it's fine. I don't care. I mean, like, yeah, in a perfect world, whatever, but I get to be me straight through, you know, and do what I do, you know.
That
But
is so
yeah, it's
awesome.
gonna be an interesting process. I just literally, this has all just happened in the past couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's gonna
Wow.
be
That's so
23 is
awesome.
gonna be 23 is gonna be an interesting year. It's gonna be about creativity and, you know, just proving the most important thing. It's never too late to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Never too late to change your career. It's
Mm-hmm.
never too late to say to somebody, I think this is a good idea, and you search and find, like, I didn't do this alone. It's my thing, but I set out on this journey that brought me to the most extraordinary places because I didn't give up. I knew it was based on truth. I knew it was something like with a sense of miracle in it. And in my mind, I was like, if you didn't relate to it, I'm like, all right, that's your karma, girl. You know what I mean? Like, this is something about the whole idea of this project is bringing people together to speak out through music. It's through oppression, whether it's the concentration camp, the cotton fields, or the inner city streets. People turn to music as their salvation, as their way of communicating their fears, their anxieties, their hopes, their dreams, you know, in the slaves with the spirituals, in the fields singing to the Lord. That was their way of coping, you know what I mean? And hopefully this whole idea can also live like live events coming together too. That's like down the road.
Oh,
But I
wow.
just kind of
Yeah.
feel like there's this great, you know, need for, because look, the reality is we're all immigrants, right? And we all have impact from these people that want to turn back the clock to a kind of more fascistic, weird, non-American time. But like together, we all have to speak out. And if music is the ultimate, you know, language that we share, I mean, you don't have to, it doesn't matter what political thing you are, you know, we all could like the same music, you know what I mean? Like that is the one thread that conceivably could bring us together. Now,
And they don't make music like that anymore. Like in
no,
the
they
60s,
don't. And the record,
it's like,
yeah, and
yeah.
the record companies have kind of tampered that down. There's still some coming out there, but yeah. So we'll see. You know, we'll see how it goes. I've been on this journey. I hope I live a nice long life so that I could see it all come to fruition. But in the meanwhile, I enjoy participating in what we're doing, which is the most important thing, because that's all we have is today, and communicating with people that I feel like we have of like mind is the gift of what we're doing. I mean, how random that you and I are having a conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like this amazing gift that comes with TikTok that I'm so grateful that I get to hear about you and you get to hear about me, and nothing else has to happen, but it sheds another layer of somebody else that's not in your immediate universe.
Right. Well, I love your attitude. I love it. I'll take it with me the rest of the day and try to keep it going for tomorrow, right?
Good. I'm sending you my number.
Awesome.
Well, you have a great day.
You too.
You. You're amazing. You are the Texas women's charge to make shit happen for that state. I believe that you can do this. I believe.
Thank you so much.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye-bye. Thank you.